call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Trish.
Mrs. Brew?
Here.
Mr. Kramer?
Here.
Mr. Menegini? Mr. Marraro?
Here.
Mr. Pop?
Here. I make a motion we excuse Mr. McGee.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. Move on to the approval of the agenda.
A motion to approve the agenda.
Or? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, do the same.
The new advised agenda, yeah. The 8-item agenda, not the 7-item agenda.
Support.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
We'll move on to the approval of the minutes. We'll start with the joint special meeting of September 28th, 2022. Do I have any questions? If not, I need a motion.
I make a motion we approve the minutes of joint special meeting of September 28, 2022. Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Regular meeting minutes of October 3rd, 2022.
I make a motion we approve the minutes of regular meeting of October 3rd, 2022.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
No, I was not here on the October 30th meeting.
Was it shown that he's present?
October 3rd? No, I was not.
He's showing that he's present?
All right, you gotta go back.
First, you guys finish, I'm sorry, I didn't speak up, so I just was glancing at it. Did you finish up the voting on that?
I did.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, I
Mr.
was-
Pop didn't answer.
Yeah, I was not present.
You weren't here on the 3rd?
No.
No.
The week, yeah, that's right, it was the week after the marijuana, the week after the marijuana vote, yeah.
Yep. I guess Scott finished the vote? No, okay. And then I would recommend the council a motion to rescind the previous motion on the minutes. And also approve the minutes minus Mr. Stoltman, or with the change that Mr. Stoltman was present.
I propose to rescind the last motion and correct the minutes to show that Mr. Stoltman was absent at the October 3rd, 2022 meeting.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. We'll move on to the approval of manifest 2022-20. Scott, do you have any questions?
I have nothing for tonight.
Brett?
I have none, thank you.
Jeff?
None, Madam Mayor.
And I have none. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to manifest 2022-20, amount of $689,993.40 be approved. Support.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Do we have any answers to previous manifest questions?
I wasn't here. Did you guys, to ask Trish, was there any questions that the council had for the previous manifest?
No.
We've been gone for 3 months, like it feels like, so.
Yeah, I do too, but I can't remember what it was.
We can review those and
But we can look back. All right, we'll move on to public comment. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on any item of interest shall do so now at the podium. State your name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on any agenda item only shall do so now at the podium. State your name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes.
Yeah, you, Dave.
All right.
Dave can,
You can do it at the.
No,
Oh,
we're
he's gonna
gonna
do
do
it
it
when we go over
after,
it? Okay.
yeah, when I get to it.
Item.
Okay. Go ahead.
Just, I asked the mayor for just a quick moment before we get into the items. I did want to recognize Natalie Rossi, our new city treasurer, started today, and we're happy to have her. I asked Lisa to be here tonight, this just kind of to help with this transition and get her comfortable before we move on. So just wanted to welcome Natalie, introduce her to all the council members and members of the public, and we look forward to working with her here for the long time.
welcome,
Welcome,
Alan.
Natalie.
Thank you.
And thank you, Lisa, for helping out. Appreciate it. We'll move on to appointments and presentation, discussion, action. All right, Downtown Development Authority appointment.
You have someone interested in serving?
And I was there when she came in, and so was Jeff, and we're glad to have another member.
That number is correct for members on that committee? Ken?
That's not one of the committees we looked into, thinking we had too many, but I can go on the bylaws and verify that.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to council appoint Anna and Tanasov, oh, that's a tough one. Come on, lawyer, help me out with this one. And Atana Sova to the DDA board for a term expiring in December 2025 and accept the resignation of Mr. Terry Spence.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes, with only check on that number to see, make sure that committee is correct.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
We'll move on to public hearing application for an industrial facilities exemption certificate for the real property tax relief under PA 198.
And that should be a motion to open the public hearing.
I make a motion to go to public hearing.
Support.
Who supported that, Brett?
I did.
And that's a roll call, Trish.
Yes, so that's Pop and Kramer?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Go into. Okay,
Sure.
you wanna go ahead?
Yeah, I can start. So this was something that was one of the first things that was on my desk when I started here back in April and kind of got pushed and forgotten about a little bit. So we kind of are fast tracking this a little bit. So what this is, and it's my limited knowledge in an IFT, I haven't done this before, but this is a method to promote business within the city. In 2006, the city had a resolution to allow for tax abatement for new commercial business, new investment into the city, and that's what Loadmaster here is seeking. They have a new facility with a 1.3 million or so investment, with about a $700,000 in taxable value for this new property with this construction, and they are looking for a tax relief. Now this is a 50% relief. The way they achieve this is they fill out the application that we have created that gives them a point system based on investment, new creation of jobs, and so forth. That application is in your documents. Based on their point scale, the big question here is if the council is open to the approval of the tax abatements, the number of years. And based on their point scale of what they're proposing doing, they would qualify for the maximum 12 years of relief. A big part of that is the amount of investment, and a big part of that is the number of employees that they are stating that they would be hiring with this new facility. Also in the packet, you can see our estimated property tax that would go along with this. We did have to send letters out to all taxing entities. Those are the individuals that would be directly impacted by a tax relief. So you can see here the taxes that would be collected with the new facility without the IFT, and then the taxes that would be collected with the IFT, so 50%. From a city standpoint, whether we approve the IFT or not, the city itself wouldn't receive those tax dollars. The DDA would receive those tax dollars as it's in the DDA district. When you look at something like this, this is not necessarily losing revenue. This is revenue that doesn't currently exist. So, you're giving them a break to get their facility up and running, and you collect half, and then in the next 12 years, if you go to 12 years, then you start collecting that in totality.
Actually drives revenue, in my opinion.
I'm sorry?
It actually drives revenue,
Correct.
in my opinion.
Right. So the question so this is the public hearing. This will give time for if there's any members of the public or the applicants to speak. Then after this, we will have more of an actionable item to approve the resolution, application and agreement. From my standpoint here, again, if the city is open, council is open to this type of resolution, some of the big things to look at is obviously the number of years, so maximum 12. And then, our recommendation is some sort of yearly audit with them to make sure that they're following through with what they're saying they're going to do, the investment in the building, and probably more importantly, the job creation.
Yes.
So, and kind of stipulate, again, if this is a 12-year abatement, when do we expect them to create a certain number of jobs? If year 5 comes along and they've only created 2 jobs, maybe revisit and say, okay, maybe we're scaling this back. So it's just kind of that check and balance to make sure they're keeping up their end of the bargain. Also in the packet is just kind of a overview of their project that they're building that has already been approved prior to me being here, and I believe that is underway currently.
Yes, construction has begun.
Right. This does have to get to the state by the end of this month. This is why I say we are a bit of a rush, and that is my fault. That is on me. So the big thing is to, again, approve the application with the number of years. We'll overnight that to the state, and, if we find some tweaking that needs to get done in the resolution, we can kind of do that after the fact, as long as both parties here kind of have a good understanding of what we're trying to do. So that's kind of my spiel. If you guys would like to hear from the applicants, they
Yes,
are here.
please.
Mr. Bryson, and you're comfortable with us, with the milestones that we're proposing?
absolutely.
Okay, good.
Good. Nothing with it, even the higher in this environment, is finding the people.
Yes, we understand that as well.
I've been in business 48 years, I've never seen it like this.
Yeah.
I was telling you guys, my sons have kind of taken over the operation, anybody can run a business when it's doing this. You gotta separate the men from the boys.
What it's doing.
When you're doing what you're doing today.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a tough world out there.
It is, Dave.
So who are we? We're a company called Woodmaster. Woodmaster started in Culpeper, Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C. I had, back in the late 70s, early 80s, had a business in Green Bay, with calling garbage as these projects back. Sold it, came back to had more time in Norway. I was running all over, thought I would kind of get back into manufacturing. I grew up at a company called Lodal, which my dad started. Dad only owned 31% of Lodal. Lodal got sold in about 1986 to a couple guys from the East Coast. We had an opportunity to buy the Lodal plant very, very reasonably, actually. A lot of people assume Dave Bryson would buy that facility. We decided to stay right here in Norway. By staying here in Norway, we've had great support from past councils on these identical issues. This is not our first time we've come here for this. So some of those have expired, and of course the taxes go up, et cetera.
The mic. Can you move the mic over a little bit, just so people will be able to hear? No, that's okay.
Usually I talk too loud anyway. Anyway, I grew up in the city of Norway through the 8th grade. Oddly, my dad was the youngest mayor in the history of Norway, in the history of the state of Michigan at the time, to become mayor of Norway. So I've got a great history in Norway also. We love Norway. We're hearing rumors, oh, you're gonna move to Kingsford, oh, if you vote, allow marijuana sales, we're gonna leave, you know, come on. No. And we had great support from past councils and from, Ray Anderson was an excellent city manager from my view. And we, being in the waste business, I dealt with city managers from the entire Upper Peninsula to Appleton, Wisconsin. We're in front of city councils and county councils and, you know, fairly regularly. Anyway, so we're here today, what are we doing? We have a great backlog. Business is actually very good at Westminster. It's unfortunately not all that profitable right now. If you look at this, which I handed out, we're booked out to something like October, I think, right?
That's a full year backlog.
That's too long. We have to get our production up, as Jeff will tell you.
Yep.
Otherwise, cities like Chicago and et cetera, that you see on this list are gonna be mad. They have to pick up garbage. They're buying a truck from us. They need that equipment. We have to pick up our level of production. You see a truck parked out on the highway today, which my two sons put out there, and we need people.
Yeah.
Radio ads running in Escanaba and Marquette, and we're growing. You know, we're somewhere around 100 employees, but not, in my mind, not quick enough. Need to. So, in spite of those issues, what can we do to increase productivity? Our paint facility is too dense, too hard to move in there. You gotta move a lot of trucks to paint another truck. We need to open that up. And when a truck is done, you get it out the door. You don't move two more to get that one out. And we're gonna make a better work environment also. We're gonna paint the inside of this building white. You know, the image of manufacturing today isn't maybe what it should be. It's actually, you want a very clean environment. Air quality in that plant is huge. We get inspected by OSHA a couple times a year. They put meters on the guy's shoulders, make sure the air is clean. But you can walk in there and see if you got dust in the air. You can't have it. Anyway, so this paint facility we're putting up has all the latest environmental. You used to be able to exhaust the paint, and it's what's called low VOC paint, so it's really not that environmentally hazardous, but you're really blowing it up into the air, it dries and falls down. A lot of that's no longer allowed. So this paint booth, and you gotta apply for a permit from the state of Michigan, and they okay the technology for the painting. You have to submit your VOC levels of your paint. It's monitored actually very heavily that you're not contaminating the air. This facility will give us much easier meeting those kind of permits, et cetera. So, you know, bright and clean, better productivity. We built this on the premise we're gonna spend about 1.3 million. You know, it's getting scary that this thing's gonna hit 2 million.
Yeah.
It's our largest expansion in the city of Norway. And we've expanded in Norway probably 5 or 6 times, I would guess. So, great backlog. If you look, we're getting pretty well known around the United States, and we had some orders for American Samoa outside of Australia, or some, I don't know where American Samoa is. Anyway, if you look at this real quick, kind of, you know, blow my horn here a little bit. You know, list Fairfax, Virginia's famous place. Penn Waste is owned by Waste Connection. Third largest waste hauler in the world, but in the country. They're going heavily toward our automated product. One-man collection, guy sits in a right-hand drive normally. Arm comes out, grabs a cart, flips it into the hopper. He's just talking about Iron Mountain going to all carts. That's very, very common. Probably 90% of the country is now a cart. If you look at this backlog, you'll see somewhere around here, city of Chicago has 30 units on order. They're all cart. You know, Tampa, Florida's on there. It's all cart system. Escanaba, Gladstone, Ironwood, Marquette.
Vulcan.
Okay, yeah, you switch the road up. Anyway, so our automated product, Waste Connection, they actually want to buy 24 more. We love your product. We had a big meeting. They had 10 of their managers from all over the country meet at Penn Waste. Did you vote for that?
I didn't know.
Anyway, all these managers from the country met. our competitor called and said, or a sales guy, anyway, called and said, you know why these 10 people flew in? They wanted to look at the Loadmaster automated side loader. They're very impressed with it at Penn Waste. So Waste Connection, third largest waste hauler in the country, says we want to buy a couple dozen more. We can't get hydraulic valves that are computer controlled. So we're trying to increase our production of those. Our dealer in Milwaukee flies to Sweden to see if he could get us more allocation of that valve. You know, I didn't know Parker Hannafin, the largest hydraulic supplier in the world, manufactures that valve in Sweden. This guy flies over so we can get us some more valves so we can build more trucks, you know?
Yeah.
Interesting what's going on in the country these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you got them or not.
Yeah, we got one.
Steve? Oh yeah, I bet you Steve got him. They probably give him some just to get him back to doing Sweden.
There's some characters in this business.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, if you don't mind, Binghamton, New York, Boston, city of Boston, maybe when you were there, Jeff, I have sold one or two, they buy half a dozen a year or so. More of a specialized truck in Boston. Tampa, Florida, been a customer for 25 years. You go down, keep going, Albuquerque, New Mexico, kind of a newer customer there.
Yeah.
Buffalo, New York's been buying 10, 12 a year, right? Minneapolis, great customer. Used to be a dozen, 12, 15 a year, and now they're buying 4 or 5, I think. Good people in Minneapolis, I've always enjoyed them, and I
Yep.
can concur with that. Very sophisticated, great to work with. Another Greensboro, North Carolina, another Tampa, Florida, more Greensboro. Austin, Texas, new customer. Austin is, you know, the 3rd or 4th fastest growing city in the United States. We're shipping product there, not yet, right? Is there
These
new?
are the first ones, yeah.
San Antonio, a dozen or so.
They didn't buy them yet, but they're talking about it.
San Antonio?
Yeah.
Okay, Austin, Albuquerque, New Mexico, we talked about that. You see where Joe Biden goes to the Jersey coast, Point Pleasant, and what's the other city goes up there? They're a Loadmaster customer, okay? You know, they throw the weather up on the TV, and we'll say, you know, there's 6 cities, there are garbage trucks in 3 of those.
Every time there's a garbage truck on Chicago PD or Chicago Fire or Chicago Med, it's a Loadmaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent him a picture, he goes back on the TV and pulls it up.
Yep.
Or you watch the Today Show, I don't watch it much anymore, but you'll see a garbage truck pass by the window. That'll be one of ours. You go to New York City at 11 o'clock at night, you'll see a lot of private haulers use the Loadmaster product. The city of New York does not.
Not yet.
City of New York wants a demonstration.
Yeah.
City of New York buys 300 trucks a year. We don't want the city of New York.
No. Yeah, them are the customers you don't want.
We can't supply.
No.
Anyway, we keep going. Indianapolis, another new customer, just about 8 or 10.
Yeah, that's great.
And we've been selling 1 or 2 to them over there, and I said, all right, let's switch the fleet over. Pretty cool. Clearwater, Florida, ordered 2
Electric trucks.
all-electric trucks.
Yeah.
We built an all-electric for Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work.
No.
Not our fault. City of Chicago sued the company out of California, $1.5 million. I think they take their bankruptcy.
Yeah.
It was the chassis they sued. The body worked, it was the chassis part, right, Dave?
City of Chicago must love us because we had to raise the price by almost 50%. We figured I figured I'm gonna be down there, they're gonna be screaming about 30 more trucks. Well, some more. Anyway, so we keep going on. The truck, where the market is going, hang on, Lenny, is this product here, this automated. Carts are becoming all the rage. Guy sits on the right hand side of the truck, doesn't leave the cab. More expensive product, well, $100,000 more money for that product than what the city of Norway uses. So, but it'll do 1,000 stops a day. All automated. The trouble with waste hauling is very labor intensive. It's a tough time getting people to drive that truck and do that manual work. People don't want to do it anymore. It's also a problem with OSHA, that's becoming, but there's also the waste employees. It's the 5th most fatal injuries in about any occupation. More fatals in waste hauling than an underground mine. And some of these other areas you think of being very dangerous.
Even being a police officer.
Yeah, could be a police officer. So what's the problem? Well, guys are on the back of that truck. People are driving down the road looking at their phone, and they're killing people on garbage trucks. So that's kind of pushing the automated product also, and the cart systems. Interesting. You're seeing the other stuff starting to fall off. But any one of these products on this literature all have cart tippers on them. Just the way it's going. Anyway, we have a very bright future here. We're very happy here. We need 20 people by Tuesday, if you know what I mean. There's gonna be no problem meeting these labor things. And we probably use 20 more beyond that. And this is kind of the evidence of that. People generally want a garbage truck, the standard, like when you were there, Joe, 90 days after the chassis arrives. We want that truck out the door. How did that become the number? Because truck manufacturers set floor plans. So they want their money or they want their interest after 90 days. So you'll see, we have about 100 some trucks sitting in the lot out here. We don't want those there more than about 90 to, now we're pushing 120.
Yeah, we're up to 150 now.
150. We're fortunate because the rest of the industry has the same problem. So they're not after us to pay interest on all of those chassis sitting in that yard. But anyway, we've bought a couple other buildings in Norway. We fixed them up, painted them, cleaned them up. We want them to look good now. Because we get the city of Chicago in here, we get the city of Minneapolis coming in here, Puerto Rico was in here.
Yeah.
We want to have a good image. This office up on this little hill, et cetera, looks very nice. This is a great little city. Good to bring people in, isn't it? And it's where I'm from, too, so
Thank you.
I want to point it out.
Thank you.
No interest in moving to the Ford plant up in Kingston.
Good to hear, David.
Anyway, I appreciate your time, guys. I hope we can get an affirmative vote. We've been here several times in the past. Taxes are very relevant. If we put up if that building ends up at, say, $2 million, that payment is about 13 grand on the 20-year amortization, 13 grand a month. Full tax on that is adding 5,000 a month to the cost of that. And we probably would not have pursued that at that level. That's a big chunk of overhead there. So property taxes are very important in the equation. I think they get overlooked as, pay your fair share and all that, but that's expensive. Anyway.
How many years did you say you were in Norway?
I bought a company called Inger Tico in 1986. I bought Loadmaster out of Culpeper, Virginia 30 years ago, March 31st. So we've been here 36 years. And no plan to go anywhere else.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Just quickly, I forgot to mention in the packet also, there's meeting minutes from the DDA.
I was gonna mention
Which
that.
we have circled for you. They are in favor of this, and they are the ones that gain to kind of lose the most from this. So the DDA they haven't given a recommendation a number of years, and they wanted council to decide that.
Right.
But they did agree that they think there should be that kind of yearly audit kind of thing, but they are in favor of this.
And I was just gonna
We have to
echo
come-
that, because I was at that meeting, and they said, this is how we keep business here, this is how we bring business in.
Do we have to come out of public hearing?
Yes, if you're done with the public hearing, you
If
have to
you
motion.
have no other questions.
One other, go ahead.
Do you have any other
No,
questions?
go ahead.
So do you have to answer any kind of question, Ann?
No?
Well, the one
Your history here kind of tells a tale to me.
One statement I do want to say is Dan made it sound like this tax dollars the DDA would be losing out on. They collect X amount of tax dollars now off of Loadmaster.
Correct.
Because they are in the DDA district.
Correct.
Right.
Going forward, it's not gonna change anything for
No.
the city. The DDA has the most to lose with the tax dollars.
And when the tax payment's over, guess what? Those tax dollars start rolling in back
They
to
go
the,
back
to the
to the
base,
DDA.
exactly. It's just, we're just delaying it to get them successful, to make sure they can get things moving.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
no one's losing right now because it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
It's a good thing for public entities to do to help out and promote business in our
And I'm
towns.
glad that you echoed that. Dan said a little bit on it, but I'm glad you echoed that, because people will assume we're losing money. You know, it stays,
Most of them tax dollars are with the DDA already.
do we have any other questions?
I don't-
I'd say if anyone else from the public wants to speak at the public hearing, this would be.
All right. Does anybody else want to get up and speak about this? If not, I need a motion to go back into,
Just close the public hearing.
or close the public hearing.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Booth?
Yes. Now we'll move on, discussion, let's see here. Action, resolution 2022-25.
So I have a couple things in this item. One is the resolution, and the other is the actual agreement between Loadmaster and the city that, again, both discuss years and the stipulation of some sort of yearly audit. So for this resolution and for the agreement, again, it's for council here to discuss the number of years of abatement and also discuss any sort of criteria for what you want staff to look for yearly as we do a yearly discussion with them.
Yeah, so I think the year question to me is, it's IFT you called it, the state plan, it's IFT?
That's the way I understand, that's the name I have.
Yeah, so they qualified for the full 12 years
Correct.
under IFT, so I don't see that being an issue, right?
And that's our own application process that we developed.
Okay, so there you go. So they qualify for that, so we start there. It's 12 years. And then we just decide on what, based off of the employee numbers, I think, and the investment numbers, what those milestones look like, X amount of year, maybe 2 or 3 spots through the 12 years. I think that's probably a place to start anyways.
Maybe you want to send somebody in and get a baseline now or something
Correct.
this week or whatever.
Sure, I mean, if this is approved tonight, I'd say, yeah, we would have a discussion of, how many new created today, and then we'll just kind of yearly touch base and then bring that to council and,
What's that?
Councilman Kramer asked me if I had any commentary.
Do we really want the lawyers involved right now?
Well, Grant and I
No.
talked a little bit today, and basically what we talked about is, in principle, this can be relatively easy to approve tonight, which is basically the tax abatement, the number of years, and some criteria. But Grant and I might have to go back and just tighten up a few things in the resolution agreement and work with Will Master to make sure that we're not missing anything. But tonight, I feel comfortable enough that we could get the years and the criteria. Grant, does that sound, didn't want to step on your toes.
No, and I'm sure Councilman Morrow appreciates that. You're a little bit more quick to the point. I think the resolution, as it's written, it complies with and requires, it gets us to what we need to do to help out Loadmaster.
Right.
And help out a entity that's investing in the community, which is what the city is always looking for. Taxpayers and people that are looking to invest and produce jobs in our community to make it stronger and continue to be a place to live. The letter of agreement kind of lays out the understanding between the city and the Loadmaster. And I don't know the extent of maybe how much discussions took place or any, but it's relatively straightforward. I think, Mr. Morrow, you've made comments in the past about making sure there's just accountability, certain levels of understanding. I think at one point the council made a comment, the one that we always hear about is Foxconn down in Appleton or Wisconsin somewhere. The nice thing is we know, I think we feel pretty darn comfortable knowing that we've got an entity here locally that isn't in a similar situation, but still doing our diligence. I think I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Audit means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Mr. Sternhagen hears the word audit and he thinks, our auditor, that he gets, heightened. I don't know that we need a full audit per se. I think it's more of just disclosures to make sure that everybody's being protected. Loadmaster is getting what they put into it and getting in return, and the city is making an agreement to have this tax abatement for probably a period of 12 years, it sounds like perhaps. Make sure the taxpayers and the DDA is getting what they bargained for as well. So it's just making sure that the understanding is all on paper.
Yeah.
And as I think you've mentioned it before, Mr. Morrow, and I reference you because you're the one that has said it the most, just making sure we're on the same page with certain benchmarks and that there's nothing that is going to surprise anybody. The letter of agreement is pretty straightforward. I wouldn't want to make it into some 20-page document. I think just making sure that we have the years, perhaps a few more just subsections that just reference
Yeah.
how we're gonna do it, and what Loadmaster's comfortable with as well. I don't think they anticipate or want to necessarily open their books
No.
per se for the city.
No.
I don't think that's
For
necessary.
us, it's one simple thing. For me, it's the employment numbers, right? I think at this point, we're all gonna know what they put in. They're saying they're gonna invest $1 million in 3 days, or they're saying it's probably gonna run over that. So that's not gonna be an issue, right? It's the employment numbers, how those look as we work through it, for personally. And Dave, understanding, the spirit of this council is always about community investment, right? And be business friendly. This council, I can't speak for past councils or future councils. I would like to say that understanding the reality that is employment now in this country, right? The spirit's there to work with you. It's not, I don't want to make this thing punitive, right? We're not looking to make this thing punitive. We're just looking at we want to be able to see what's going on, how things are working, and have open dialogue through this process, I think is what we're looking for.
And that's what, so you guys know, because I was at that DDA meeting too, that was their main focus too, is we've got to have something to go back, say, hey, how are
It
you?
makes good sense, we don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
They're probably just trying to find people.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll try to help you.
Yeah, I mean, I approach this as similar, like to a grant. If we were gonna get a grant, we would have to report to that granting agency once a year about our progress. Are we developing what we wanna develop? So something like that. I think with the hiring issues that we are seeing, I think over time, it's something where, if we meet in year 3 and they're like, we lost people, this is a conversation.
Right, it's
This
just a conversation.
This isn't going to be a.
Not punitive. Right.
We would report to the council, maybe have a discussion, but,
Yeah.
I approach this as a grant where we're just making sure what we're talking about is good.
Makes sense to us.
Good.
Okay.
So my 2 cents I would recommend, if the council has requested, approve the resolution with the fill in the blanks and a few different things, and then reference it as contingent upon successful entry of the letter of agreement that will be forthwith, very quickly finalized and brought to conclusion.
Yep.
Any more questions or comments?
I'd say the only thing, again, is the number of years, and if you guys want to be, in your motion, be specific on criteria, if you just want to limit it to the appropriate development as stated and a number of jobs, if those are our main 2 kind of yearly discussions, then I would just state that, because we'll put that specifics into the resolution and letter of agreement.
Yeah, we don't have to, we can just mention that in the motion. We don't have to get down to the
Yeah,
details.
however you
correct?
guys wanna, however you wanna do it.
Yeah, right.
Grant, I guess from your standpoint, do you want something in there that discusses the, if they don't meet certain criteria, council has I think it's in there, but has the ability to, change or
Review.
Review.
Yeah, and then that's in the proposed
Right.
letter of agreement. I can envision, and I don't think it needs to be in the resolution, no.
Okay.
But that's why I wanted you guys to have this discussion today with the Brysons here as well. I think it needs to just make sure that they know as well, hey, if you only create 10 jobs, maybe it's, there's a, I don't like necessarily just potential, there could be something that might happen. Well, what is that might happen? It's nice to have a little bit of expectations so everybody knows, if this is what happens, then X, then Y, Y, then Z. I don't think you have to do that for the resolution today, but for the letter of agreement, I think when we're working together, try to just come up with a few different, at least some guidelines, benchmarks, if you will.
And maybe like a yearly report, or,
You could just, in the letter of agreement.
I don't even know if it
require
needs to be yearly. I mean, just the construction, I was gonna say, I think it's 4 reports, like once every 3 years, check to see where the milestones are. You gotta give them a chance to get the thing built and, exactly. I'm comfortable with 3. If you go 3 and 6 and 9 and, at the end, we shake hands and say, great, we got another great thing going.
Unless it ain't looking like we're getting anywhere, then.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. If they miss in their first one, then we can maybe adjust that to looking at it again the following year or something like that, right? Right. But I'd say 3 years out of the chute for sure.
Right. Yeah, we don't expect them to come in and
No.
have 20 employees in front of us in a year.
No.
Maybe another year before I get, it's hard to get contractors, hard to.
Oh, yeah. No.
Can't get furnaces or something, you don't know what
Understood.
you're gonna run into.
Yep.
Holds your
Yeah.
whole project up. It's tough out there.
You guys comfortable?
I'm good with everything.
All right. Then I'll move to approve resolution 2022-25, approving application Loadmaster Corporation for industrial facilities exemption certificate for a new facility for 12 years.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Mararo?
Very happy, yes.
And thank you guys for staying in Norway.
Yes.
I'm glad that you guys picked up the multicolor building. It was
Yes.
good use of that instead of sitting there like that. So we're very glad to have you here.
Appreciate your support today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very,
We have one
very
more.
important.
We have one more.
Thank you.
Yeah, I gotta do one more, yeah.
I think if you look around, you'll see, our trucks, our goal is to build 8 a week, we're doing about 6. Trying to get another 2, but anyway, you'll see those trucks lined up at the buying fuel, I used to sign every paycheck, and you could see the address, Spark River and Escanaba, and then you'd see Norway, you'd see Kingsford, as people move closer to their job. It isn't just this, but when you create those jobs or whatever, you do bring people into the area. Good for business, good for, a lot of people in McDonald's at lunchtime, and people staying in the motel and, picking up trucks. And we got people in at the airport just constantly. It's fun when it goes right. It never goes right, but.
We got one more motion to make.
Yeah.
We got one more motion to make on this.
I motion approval of industrial facilities exemption certificate letter of agreement as presented with the inclusion of 12 years of exemption.
And then I would also include grant. It
You
says
just said
in
you're gonna
there,
have to get wordy with it.
With the
Yeah.
benchmarks as
Yeah, okay.
discussed.
With benchmarks as discussed, based pretty much mostly off of employment numbers.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Mararo?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes. Thank you once again.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
and I see us on the list there. I'm sure we moved up a lot higher now, right? We're getting our truck pretty soon.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I need to test it, I was talking to Ken about that.
I'm coming back, look out.
Freightliner chassis right now, about a year, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's tough to get a truck chassis.
Everything.
Everything, it's kind of sad. I very much appreciate your support, folks.
Yeah.
Thank you and good
Same-
luck.
Same to you guys, thank you.
Enjoyed talking to you.
You
Thank
too,
you.
Dave, thanks, guys.
Nice meeting you.
We'll move on to item number 4, discussion action, DPW Unit 100 and 102 repairs.
So for items 1 through 6, I have them separated. It's the exact same memo for each one. So as we go through the memos, the exact same. You can just run through item 4, 5, 6 as far as your approving or denying motions. These are, again, these are repairs. They're not cheap. This happens. Again, we don't budget for very specific repairs. We have a $50,000 maintenance budget, and this is why you have that. As I say, some years there's good years and there's bad years. This is trending towards a bit of a bad year as far as maintenance. We're early in this budget and we're still under budget, but we're chewing away at it. But that is the nature of equipment.
Tell them to quit breaking trucks then, it's
And-
over.
And they gotta stop breaking trucks. Hopefully, we kind of come out of this and things are turning the right way. But they are catching things that are good. We caught them when we did. So as we go through these, one by one, like I said, they're not cheap, but none of that stuff is. And hopefully, we don't have a whole lot more going forward. In the future, we do try to budget for big maintenance items we know are happening, but that's just not these.
Are there any questions?
So you bundled items 4, 5, and 6
No,
together?
they're
not
separate.
together,
They're-
they gotta be
they're not-
separate.
I just kept the same memo for each one.
All right.
So this first one, would be the, if you look at the memo, there's recommendations, basically 1, 2, or 3. So this first one is units 100, 102, and it's approving for Rick's, and there's a memo for Rick for each one as well.
So the total number we're talking about is all of these numbers added up for all the fixes?
No, they're separate there, right?
Those are three different,
Those are 3 different fixes,
yeah,
yep.
because I'm looking at,
Yep, units 100 and 102, and this first one is a total fix of 4,900.
right,
Then the next item is unit 102, that's a total fix of
right, these
6,100.
addition, so this is, you add the three up, that's what we're approving.
No, I need them separately.
Yeah, I would do them separately.
I understand that.
But yes,
But we're looking at
totality,
$17,000,
correct.
$18,000.
Correct,
All right.
yep.
Do I have any questions on units 100 and 102? If not, do I have a motion?
Make a motion units 100 and 102 be approved for repairs using Michigan, Wisconsin spring and brake for $4,914.38.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. DPW Unit 102 tandem dump truck repairs. If I have no questions, do I have a motion?
Make a motion unit 102 be approved repairs using UP International truck for $6,158.87.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
DPW Unit 131 refuse truck repairs. Do I have any questions? If not, do I have a motion?
Make a motion unit 131 approve repairs using UP International truck for $6,209.31.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to item 7, discussion action, WWTP operator position. Mr. Stoltman?
So this is something we've discussed previously, and my recollection was council said not now, wanted to revisit it later on. This is a request to add a full-time position in the wastewater treatment plant. It is something that we did put in the budget. It is something that the state of Michigan is telling us we should have another person. But so we are revisiting this again with council, and Brock is here to answer any of your questions. My memo is basically a recycled of my first.
Does anybody have any questions, comments?
I have none.
If not, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the additional full-time position of wastewater operator at the union rate, allowing staff to begin the process to advertise and fill a position.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Moraro?
We are losing money.
No.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
If I may, I just want to comment on that, and I know I
Yeah.
don't have to.
I know you don't.
We are not losing money down there. What it is we're making $150,000 transfer to our general fund, because our general fund is very, very poor. It's not that we're losing money in that utility. That's the difference.
They thought, all that money was going into the sewer and we were losing it.
We are losing, we're losing some there, but the majority of it is a transfer into our general fund to make our general fund make itself float.
But-
Usually it goes the other way though.
That's,
Not this one.
it's accounting, but at the end of the day, we're losing money.
All right, we'll move on, discussion action, city treasurer signature authorization, Northern Interstate. This is to add Natalie to the bank account,
Correct.
so she can sign. Do I have any questions?
They're all rubber checks, just so you know.
Stamps and thing.
Do I have a motion?
Motion, we add Natalie to the bank account.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Do a second one to add the DDA and to remove former treasurer Lisa Schultz as well.
Then
Oh, I didn't
don't drop
see
these
that.
surprises on us in the last minute. Then you wouldn't have these mistakes.
No, it was there, it was in the back.
All right.
I'm sorry.
Okay, by motion, we authorize the city treasurer, Natalie Rossi, as a sign of the city bank, Norway, the city Northern Interstate Bank for city Norway accounts, including the DDA and the remove former treasurer Lisa Schultz.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Move on to mayor council comments. Scott?
Yeah, I would just follow up on where we were at with the sewer credit thing, like Robert says, where we're at with that, and I'd also like a follow-up of where are we with the meters? Because my understanding, we're sitting on some meters that are back in the plant that aren't being put in. And that is absolutely ridiculous, and that upsets me very much, since we're going on 6, 7 years on this.
Over 7 now.
By the time these darn things get put in, they're gonna be obsolete, we're gonna have to go with a different type of system. We've been talking as a council for the last year, very upset
For a year.
because they're just sitting there, or else we can't get them. Okay, then we get the spiel of we can't get them for 3 months, we're only gonna get, I don't care if we get one every week, that one should be in place and not sitting on a plan. That's all I got.
I have nothing bigger.
Yeah, I'm very, very anxious to see the sewer credit numbers that Brock's gonna provide us with the history. Brock, bring complete information, please, with past years to multiple past years, so we can actually see the data side by side with some history behind it. Disappointed to hear about the meters as well. Pete, you mentioned earlier about losing money. What Brett's trying to tell you is the way we do our accounting here, this place is an integral part of all city operations, right? All the girls in the office, Dan, everything supports the utilities, be it the cable television, be it the water, sewer, electrical, blah, 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 blah. So ultimately, Brett's right, he's wrong, right? On the departments, and their budgets, they look great. Department budgets look great, but by the time you pay for this animal and everything goes along with it, and all our pensions and our medical and everything else.
And all the repairs?
The general funds, that's where we're upside down. The business units themselves are all profitable. You can consider them all their own business unit. But when it comes back to the general, the whole thing is where we're struggling, right? You throw police in there, you throw fire on there, you throw other things on there. So, you understand? No, that's where he's coming from, okay? Thanks.
Like Brock made it sound like it was just one department work. Where all that water from the garden was going into the sewers.
Two different animals.
Two
We
different.
were losing money there.
And that one, you were
Yeah.
actually right. You know,
Yeah.
whole ball of wax, we're losing more from the other side.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more other things that come out of the general fund, our police department. We have a lot of different other things that come out of there that have to be paid for.
The police is the biggest draw, isn't it? Police department.
Was that it, Jeff?
I'm done, yep, thanks.
All right. On a good note, I want to say that we all participated in the trunk or treat up at the school. It was great. The organizers did a great job. What a nice thing for our young children to be able to go to It was nice to be able to go there and, you know, for parents, it ain't as much walking, they don't have to worry as much about the candy, and I just wanna thank everybody, you know, all different departments and people from the town who participated in that. That was great. Another thing I also wanna mention that I think was turned out great was Leaf Erikson Day. It takes a lot of volunteers to put on Leaf Erikson Day. It brought a lot of people to our community. It was a little windy, but we had a great turnout, and I thought everybody did a great job putting that together. You know, when you get to go to some of these things, it makes you proud to be part of this community. Just how people will pitch in and do things to make children happy, to make people happy. So a big thank you to all of them, especially the volunteers, because it's hard to get volunteers nowadays. And another thing that had a nice turnout too was the fire department had their meat raffle this weekend down at Mr. Mom's, and they had a great turnout for that, and it turned out really good, and they did real well on that. That's all I have. And children, be safe. Make sure you remember on Halloween, watch for the little kids going around. Dan?
Thank you. Just a couple of comments. The sewer credit, yes, Brock and I will start to work on that. Our main goal with what we present to the council is the data over the summer compared to the previous years, as well as provide you guys with, a couple different options to move forward. One being don't bring it back, two, bringing it back the way it is, and then probably a variation of something of that to make more sense. So we'll be getting to that shortly, and kind of the main question when we discuss this is, identifying what is the main purpose and goal of that program and kind of building off of that.
Right, because we did promise that we'd have something
Yep.
in the works by
We've
January.
been talking to as well.
Yeah, we just don't want to throw raw data at you guys at a meeting and then we're getting it ready, consolidated, and options, just so you guys have something to look at. The water meters, yes, we have about 190 meters that came in. We got the bottoms and then we got the tops, and now we've had to put them together and we have them. The expectation here is to install about 150, keeping the remainder in stock for broken and things like that. We do need some on hand. I will get you an update on where we are with that. Right now it's going to be our staff doing the installs, and we're focusing right now primarily on the ones we know that are broken and that we can get in to replace during business hours, to which our guys are there. But I will get you an update on where we are, and I will try to get a better goal on a number per week to get those installed, because I agree, 7 years that was a bit surprising when I heard how long it's been taking to get this project done. Briefly, just to touch on general fund, since we're kind of to discussing it, the general fund, has the unfortunate nature of typically being the largest fund we have with the least amount of revenue coming in. It's the fund that encompasses public works and police and administration and streets and parks and all those things. Where you have water, sewer, communications, those are areas where there's a revenue source to support those directly. And typically, yes, we pull money from those operations to support them on the administrative side. And when you have a general fund that your main revenue source doesn't necessarily always cover those, you have to pull a little bit more to make sure you're solid. So general fund is somewhere where a lot of our focus needs to be on, to making sure that.
Or you have to spend
we're
less.
solid. Or you have to spend less, and just like the sewer, it's a tough equation. You only have so much revenue, and you need to pull so much to support general fund operations, and yet there's still work and people that need to be there. And as you saw, hiring someone tonight, in part to keep the appropriate number of people for the work, but also start looking to the future of how we, reorganize our organization to make it the most beneficial, most streamlined in the future. And this potentially is one step to do that. So it's a difficult equation to do, and from the public, each budget year we consistently try to figure out ways to make it the best that we can and provide the services that we need. So that's just kind of a quick overview of general fund and why the way it is, and we'll continue to try to make it work better. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. girls have anything tonight? No? Do I have a motion to,
I
oh,
just want to say thank you for support on that position.
do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Meeting adjourned.
We got anything to worry about on this or what? Got anything to worry about with Olson or what?